Black Friday is finally here, and while many consumers will be scanning retail shops and online stores for the best deals, fraudsters are expected to be in overdrive trying to scam unsuspecting consumers. Fraudsters will use this as an opportunity to dupe customers into believing that they are engaging with legitimate stores and organizations with the sole purpose of committing fraud. Just how susceptible are South African consumers to fraud of all types? For those answers, we turn our attention to Ulrich Janse van Rensburg, who is the Managing Executive for ABSA's Fraud Strategy and Analytics Unit. Ulrich, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. At least consumers are expected to spend 18 billion rand more than normal on a day like this or this weekend. Just how big is the fraud part of things? Because a lot of people seem to be not aware how susceptible they are to becoming victims to fraud.
I think, thanks for having me, Belong. I think what's important is that fraud is a common trend throughout the year. And obviously, this time of the year where people get excited about Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and the festive season, they would obviously get more excited about the purchases that they're about to make and let their guard down. What's important is that consumers must always look out for, especially social engineering, which is an attempt to deceive and manipulate individuals in divulging sensitive information or approved transactions. So always be on the lookout for those emails that comes through, which is considered a phishing email, where they want you to divulge sensitive information, or they will phone you. They'll phone you on a phone call, or they end up and ask you to divulge the sensitive information. And what we've seen even up this morning, is SMSs that gets sent to consumers and telling them that there's been e-commerce fraud committed on their profile, and they need to phone the number on the line. What we're also seeing is false advertising, especially during this period where you see those hard to come by deals. It seems to be good to be true, and consumers will pay to those.
Ulrich, it seems that most of the fraud that you are referring to is a fraud that it has to do with online shopping. Is that where most fraud and scams occur during this period?
Yes, definitely. During this period, as you would imagine, especially Black Friday and Cyber Monday, consumers and especially the e-commerce market is really pushing hard to get high volumes through their sales. And what we're seeing in that landscape in particular is where consumers then are duped into falling prey to social engineering and scams like deposit scams.
How secure is our digital payment systems in South Africa when you look at comparable with the rest of the world?
I think it's extremely secure. If you consider the landscape that we used to be in and 5 years ago compared to now, it rates us in some of the top quadrants of financial industries in the world. What is important, though, is social engineering is prevalent. It's prevalent as a result of the secure platforms that we have. So the syndicates are now moving to the consumers, because that's where they need to now convince the consumer to share that sensitive information. So we always tell consumers, that our customers, that we will never ask them to share their card CVV, their card expiry date, online PIN or password on a phone call, in an email, or when we send them a text. And we will also never, what we see now is that consumers are phoned by people proposing to be from, let's say in our case, ABSA Fraud, to say we want to help you stop fraud and we need you to approve a transaction. We will never, as an industry, do that. So I think because this industry is so strong from a security perspective in preventing fraud, social engineering becomes a prevalent means of manipulating consumers.
What fraud prevention tips can you give consumers that are easy to remember as they try and navigate the frenzy that is Cyber Monday and Black Friday?
So first of all, I would say never, when you receive a text message that states that you've just had fraud and you need to phone the number in the text message, phone your fraud hotline, but don't use the number in the text message. Don't disclose sensitive information like your card CVV, your expiry date, or your online credentials, which is your PIN and password. Don't approve transactions if you are not transacting yourself. The bank will never ask you to approve transactions if you're not transacting yourself. And when you go on those websites to buy goods and services for that once-in-a-lifetime deal, make sure that you understand the online seller. Make sure that you search for their return policies and the terms and conditions that they have. Speak to third parties just to help you and think logically about the deal that you're about to get into. And also look for complaints or reviews of these particular parties online.
Have we been able to quantify how much fraud and scamming takes place online in South Africa in any given year?
I think it's difficult to determine, Prolani, because a lot of consumers don't report all of it as a result of being potentially shy of the fact that they've fallen prey to this. But in the industry, there are numbers quoted, but those numbers are mostly shared with the South African Bureau of Risk Information Center, and they would then consolidate that. So it's difficult to truly quantify the quantum of this. We do know that there were reports in the past 3 years that quoted numbers north of 2 billion rand a year, but that's difficult to put a number on it.
Ulrich, that's all the time we have this afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. Ulrich Janse van Rensburg is the Managing Executive for ABSA's Fraud Strategy and Analytics Unit, telling us, warning consumers rather, to be on the lookout for those scammers and fraudsters who are on the prowl, as many people are in a buying and shopping frenzy this Black Friday and Cyber Monday.